A and S. I imagine Ed Chuong walking into a 90s arcade, his Ziploc bag of quarters jangling in his oversized pockets. Ed breathes in as the synthy sounds of 25 machines, including his favorite, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, buzz around him. He walks over with laser focus, Donatello in his sights. Ed locks in, drops his quarters into the slot, and knows this time he'll realize the day's high score. I can't imagine the rabbit holes Ed follows in his everyday lab work that lead him through primordial histories of placenta to RNA and the way these developments have propelled us into the science of the moment. An assistant professor of molecular, cellular, and developmental biology, I can't imagine how Ed knew at such a young age the importance of understanding or exploring the smallest mysteries of life. He looks deeply, literally, into our existence at a molecular level. Venturing into what others discard, Ed ands with new ideas that just might lead to scientific treasure. On the ampersand, we call this bringing together of the impossible the alchemy of anding. Together, we'll hear stories of humans who imagine and create by colliding their interests. Rather than thinking of and as a simple conjunction in that conjunction-junction kind of way, we will hear stories of people who see and as a verb. A way to speak the beautiful when you intentionally let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. As St. Mary Oliver asks, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Oh, I love this question. When I'm mothering, creating, and collaborating, it reminds me to replace a singular idea of what I think I should become with a full sensory verb about experiencing. I'm Erika Randall. And this is Ed Chuong on the ampersand.
I think the laughing is something that I didn't appreciate pre-parent, right? Because before having your own, you mostly hear crying.
Yeah, and it's annoying.
Yeah. But then the laughing is really, it makes everything worth it, you know, and he's like sort of losing it and he's just so full of joy. And so that's, yeah.
How do you get him to laugh? What's your move?
These days, tickling is pretty
monster?
easy.
Yeah,
making funny faces.
But he's a healthy guy.
Yeah.
He had a good placenta.
He did have a good one.
He had an excellent placenta. Yeah. Was it super freaky, that fact that you have studied placenta evolution, thinking about a placenta holding the human that would become your laughing bundle of baby joyness? Did you get super trippy on that?
It was super trippy, yeah. I mean, I had spent many years studying placenta, starting from undergraduate, actually, and through my graduate studies. And you know, in my PhD thesis, the intro to my thesis was basically this tribute to the placenta in a way of just like, you know, starting with how
it's the edge of glory.
Yeah, well, different, you know, it's a really amazing and underappreciated organ. Mm-hmm. I was studying it more from an evolutionary
That's the one with the
angle.
Funny title. Then your titles got really serious, but you have a great placenta title of one of your papers.
Oh, placenta goes viral?
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, so that actually came out later on, but I was initially interested in placenta not because of all this virus transposon stuff, but really I got into it because I was introduced to an idea by my undergraduate mentor of an evolutionary arms race that's happening between the parent and the offspring.
Yes.
And I just thought...
Evolutionary arms race between the parent and the offspring, so that when you feel like some kind of alien has taken over your body.
Right.
True facts.
It very much is, yeah. And actually, and the whole kind of thesis is that the placenta could be thought of as a sort of pseudo-parasitic organ. And, you know, of course that interested me because we're often thinking about pregnancy and mammalian pregnancy, especially as this purely symbiotic relationship. But of course now, you know, anyone who's gone through that, you know, can see how it's a little bit, you know, quite a bit more nuanced than that. For me, this idea of parent-offspring conflict, which was actually like, you know, a serious academic idea, was really appealing because, you know, it was exposing an aspect of biology that, was just counterintuitive, but also, once you started thinking about it, really made sense. Of course, competition starts in the womb. It doesn't start, after you're born. And I think, another key point in that is that, whereas it's a little bit difficult to imagine that for humans where we have one baby at a time, it's easier to think about when you think about rodents, and most mammals really have multiple babies at a time, often from different fathers. And so the basic idea here is that the mom, from an evolutionary perspective, wants all her offspring to succeed and wants to survive to give birth to many offspring. But once you start thinking about the fact that these offspring are not necessarily super related, maybe at best half, right? Well, from a selfish offspring's perspective, well, if they were to have a super effective placenta and made them grow super big, even if that came to the cost of their siblings or maybe their mom, there's sort of a room for that conflict to play out. But here we're seeing that there's multiple arms races happening in our biology, not just between host or parent offspring, also between male, female, and also, between ourselves, which is now my current research. And so all these sources of conflict have always been my focus of interest, and I've just been really interested how they shape our biology and may explain things that previously may not have been obvious.
I love this idea that conflict is a source of inspiration for you.
Right.
And so when you were having your human baby, you're thinking about this conflict at play. Did you talk to your wife about? Were you like, it's gonna be like? Did you whisper to the baby like, just chill out, dude? Like it's gonna be good in there. Like I know there's conflict happening. I know that this is part of an evolutionary experience, but let's just have a symbiotic love fest.
Right. No,
did you go there?
I didn't. I think it's implicit, and I think especially for the mom, you mostly feel conflict during the pregnancy.
So you were
I didn't
a great
have to remind
dad during pregnancy. You were awesome.
Right. Yeah, I definitely understood. At a certain level, I academically understood, the remodeling that was going on inside.
I love the remodeling inside of your wife's human body.
Academic level, but of course, this being my first kid, I didn't have the actual experience. So it's still, of course, very...
Did you stick around for the placental delivery?
So actually, I cut the cord and I kept it.
Yeah, amazing. Of course you did.
In Boulder, it's actually quite common to keep it. And in Boulder,
or eat it and turn it into an
exactly.
herbal,
So in Boulder, most people will dry it up and put it into smoothies.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was going to do, and then there was other things that got in the way.
So I saved it. It's still actually vacuum sealed and frozen in my freezer. Still kind of figuring out what to do with it. I think what we had planned was to plant a tree or something like that in the yard, which is a pretty common thing.
Yeah, I did that. That's what I.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah.
I put it under the tree with my dad's ashes. So I was like, let's just put all this sacks of conflict all in just one new life.
Yeah, we were thinking this is like your tree sister. Your I don't know.
So maybe you'll do that.
We're still in recovery. We're still recovering, even though it's been a year. We're still just finding our legs now.
Well, time is a trip, and whether you're having a baby or you're studying evolutionary biology, time for you, short time could be a couple million years.
Right.
But baby time of 1 year is forever.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So living in multiple timescales these days.
At once.
Yeah.
Do you read science fiction?
I do read a lot of science fiction.
You do? Did you do that as a kid before you got into this evolutionary biology?
I did, yeah. Really into Asimov and these epic, if you're getting at these epic stories that span, many millions of years, that really, those are my favorite genres.
They were. So take me back. You went to school in California. Are you from there?
I was born in New York, but I grew up in Southern California, in Irvine. Yeah.
And so you're in Irvine. You've got this giant, huge book. You're 5, 6, 7? Yeah. Pick one, or I'm going to make you 5 and make you really gifted. 4.5.
7.
You're 7. Okay, we're going to say 7. And are you reading by the light of your closet? Or are you the kid in the corner at recess?
Yeah, kid in the corner at recess for sure. Yeah, huge bookworm
really?
up through when I had to start doing science and read papers for a living, and then that kind of took away from reading for fun.
Do you think it got you into science, reading science fiction? Or just lit your imagination to the kind of different questions? Yeah,
I think, a lot of science fiction has an aspect of sort of bioengineering and, humans being, different in some way. And that's certainly what still interests me today. So yeah, I don't know if it really directly influenced me a straight line, but certainly there was a common interest.
Yeah. So was it in science classes? My kid's in science right now, and I hear from his teacher, oh, this is where he kind of shines. He's asking questions. He says he doesn't like science, but he's asking questions. Were you the kid who was writing the questions down and wanting to solve for things, or finding a teacher, asking the question, or all of it? And was that middle school that started?
Oh, yeah. So first I should preface it. So my dad's actually a professor and a scientist. And so, this
so you were at the table.
This indoctrination happened early on. And if anything, I was silent and he was the one kind of like drawing on napkins, trying to explain what he's doing, which I never really got. So I was, hyper exposed to science, if you will. So he's also a biologist in a slightly different field, but now we talk a lot of shop.
That's great.
But in class, I would actually say through high school, even through college, I wasn't like raising my hand or super. I wasn't like maybe what I would consider a model student from now this side. I was a pretty quiet person, and I wasn't necessarily going to get into biology. It was actually my I was very forward thinking as a high school student. I wanted to write apps for phones. And this is back before, in the Palm Pilot age. Wow. Before it was
Did you even know what did you call it? It wasn't an app back then. What did you call it?
It was whatever. So my mom had a Palm Pilot and she let me play with it sometimes. And I just thought that was really cool. So they weren't called apps. You're right. Yeah. Maybe they were called applications.
Yeah. The whole name.
Right.
They weren't cool yet.
Yeah. And there weren't and there weren't iPhones at the time.
What kind of app did you think about? What were you inventing?
Oh, like games, like game apps. And so, it probably would have been a lucrative avenue to follow. But, and so when I applied to college, I was mainly applying for computer science programs.
Yeah, that's what I said for undergrad. Did you start in engineering? Was that?
Yeah, so I was in bioengineering.
Okay. So you'd already started to turn.
Yeah, it was almost like kind of a random choice there. So that because UC San Diego in particular was, that bioengineering program was highly acclaimed. And so I switched from CS to just on a whim and thinking I wanted to go that route. But I should say, so I started as bioengineer and I sort of was not necessarily interested in going down the academic route that my dad did, actually. Okay. Because of that, right? I don't necessarily want to do what your parents do.
Yeah, you can do your own thing.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to be like an engineer or a programmer. But what changed for me was I had a really inspiring set of teachers and mentors as a freshman that just changed my course. So
amazing.
I just had as an elective class, took an introductory evolutionary biology class, and so I think it just like sparked a lot in me, and so that motivated me to pursue undergraduate research experience in evolutionary biology, and you
started presenting papers as an undergrad.
Not papers, but conference. I was fortunate to go to some conferences.
That's amazing as an undergrad. And did that let you know that this is a field I want to dive into? These are my people. I think like these
Totally,
folks.
very much so. So I ended up in a lab with a mentor, Dr. Hopi Hoekstra, who's now the dean at Harvard. So she really she did all right. Catapulted. But just like someone like that, who's just obviously an amazing scientist, I had the privilege of being her first undergrad. So she joined, and I really just randomly knocked on her door.
So you are the reason.
I like to think I helped her. At least I made her not quit.
Well, that's huge, actually, having students who help you not quit.
Exactly. Yeah, give you hope, and
they give you hope,
not the opposite.
No, that's true.
It is huge. And I'll preface this. That wasn't the first lab I joined. And just as a funny anecdote, the first lab I joined was a real eBio lab. They were looking at pipefish mating, and this is in San Diego. And in parallel, I'd been getting into like snorkeling and stuff like that in the water. And
see, that's where the ending comes in. So you were already you were like, I'll join that lab.
Yeah, I want to do field. Yeah, evolution so awesome. I get to snorkel for a living. So my first task was to go snorkeling in the Mission Bay near SeaWorld and mark the nests of these pipefish. And I went with my friend, my roommate at the time, and immediately realized that because I'm red-green colorblind, I couldn't see any nest in the bay. So I was completely...
This is not the job for you.
Yeah, I was completely useless. It was a hard realization. I think there's a movie where something like this happens with some guy going, wanting to be a pilot, right? But I think...
Did you know you were colorblind?
Yeah, I did. But I didn't
know how it would impact you in the field.
Yeah, and above water, it's actually not, like, my level of colorblindness does not really affect my life. But underwater, I think because of the wavelengths and everything, it's, like, exceptionally hard.
Did your goggles just like fill up with steam and sadness? That's what I'm seeing in the movie.
Yeah. So I talked with my advisor at the time, and she was like, well, maybe you should consider molecular biology, right? So I very gently suggesting that field research was just not an option for someone like me. And in retrospect, a blessing, because field research is very difficult to sort of maintain, and I think molecular stuff did suit me much better. So that actually is what. So then I bounced to my second lab, but that lab with Hope You is where I really got into it.
Yeah, and then you were traveling all over the planet.
Right.
Did you expect lab research to take you all over the world, or the tiny worlds inside of a microscope are more your passion than the big world all around you?
Oh, no, I would say I'm equally okay. In terms of travel, I do a lot of that, and I just to finish that thought. What actually these days, what I value most is actually the international community of like-minded scientists that. Particularly in this day and age, many of these scientists sort of transcend political boundaries.
Yeah.
And I
that's powerful.
Yeah. And not only transcending boundaries, but it's like, you have people who are in, Germany or Saudi Arabia or China that, they're so far away, and without science, you would never encounter each other in a million years. But when we're at these conferences, we realize, we're thinking about the exact same thing in our day-to-day lives. And we actually have like much more in common with each other than me with my average neighbor.
Yeah, with your neighbor Boulder, who's like, what are you talking about?
Right. So I think that sort of, it's a little bit of a, paradox that we have to travel so far sometimes for these conferences to meet people who are so like-minded. So for me, that's been the most valuable thing, is I have like sort of a large community of friends and colleagues all around the world. Can
you turn your brain off? I mean, you're thinking about so many things all the time. Do you get quiet, or getting into a new environment, does it spark more questions that then make you...
I turn my brain off. As a professor, I think not so much, partially because there's so much to worry about. So I think I'm capable of turning my brain off, but I think when you have so much to stress about, like funding your lab or whatever, it becomes a challenge. So that becomes something where at least once a year, I try to force it to happen. And I know that it's good to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps half or more of my identity is just wanting to be out in nature, and I can't shut off if I'm truly out there, like on a
especially
long
on a hard
trip.
Like if you're like doing a hard climb or you're in a challenging physical problem.
That's actually why we would do that. Yeah, because then you're so focused on not falling or whatever.
Exactly.
And so I really enjoyed that, and then I would find that by doing that, not only is that better for your happiness, but also improved my science, because I would have a fresh perspective on something I'd been stuck on for a while. So especially as a postdoc, I would be doing this like at least once or twice a month.
So you would tell your students, get out there.
Now
as a faculty member.
I certainly, I don't tell them to do that. I think at Boulder, you don't need to tell people to do that. There's kind of a self-selection there, but I certainly don't dissuade it. And yeah, because, I think maybe this goes to scientific cultural differences of, the West Coast, but specifically like Boulder, I would say, and versus some of these other institutions, on the coasts, and perhaps a little bit more, prestigious based on U.S. News and World Report.
It's the same with dance. I'm right with you. Yeah.
Right. But there was just a different vibe, right? I think there's more of a pressure cooker vibe at a lot of institutions. And at Boulder, it was immediately obvious that people were, more relaxed and able to enjoy their lives. And a lot of that has to do with self-selected culture, and also, how can you not be like, if you're waking up around the mountains every day and you're immersed in nature, I think that has just a huge effect on, everything in your life. So that was a huge draw for me.
I love also thinking how important mentors have been for you here now in your academic and research life. Do you still have mentors who you turn to now that you're also the mentor folks are looking to?
Oh, very much so. And it's a big lesson that mentorship never stops. And mentorship is also the key to success, throughout one's career. And also on top of that, mentorship from multiple mentors and from different stages in their careers, and not just relying on one. For instance, my postdoc mentors from now 7 years ago, I still keep in touch with them pretty regularly. Every couple months, I'll have a call with them.
And you talk human and science.
Yeah.
It's all one.
Yeah. And they were very excited when I said, you're having a baby. And but they've also, of course, helped me through the tenure process last year and getting papers through. So they've been invaluable. And, I try to keep that up with my alumni as well, as best I can. Although I don't have like as senior alumni as they do. But, I I have many undergrad level people who have gone on to grad school, and I still keep in touch with them.
Who do you call when you have a major discovery, or what may even feel like a minor thing, but you know it's pointing to something? Like, who's your person, and what does that celebration look like for you? Or do you celebrate?
Interesting question. I don't know if I call anyone to report a discovery. Yeah. Okay. When I was a postdoc, I mean, I would be, I'd be running into their office and saying like, "Oh, this was cool." I'd run, basically. That's amazing. But now, as a professor, I'm not the one making the discoveries. It's my people. And so sometimes, I do have some memories of people of my lab, coming in and like slapping down a printout of a really cool result, and not even like, they don't even give me context. They just want me, but that's super exciting. And so I think these days the discovery is shared between, I think, the me as the mentor and the person, and I can tell they're excited, so I share that with them. And then oftentimes the exciting part is actually like really early on in the project, and then the remaining 2 years is just like filling in the dots, and it actually becomes quite discouraging and boring. And then I'm there to motivate them and like, remember how interesting this was 2 years ago. Let's keep that spark going until we finish.
Oh, you'd be a good marriage counselor.
Okay, I don't know.
When you think about failure and how much it impacts discovery, how do you cheer on failure? How do you let that be also a moment in the process?
I don't know if I cheer. I mean, it's hard to cheer on failure, but I definitely make it clear to everyone that this business is mostly failure.
It's like baseball.
Yeah. And it's just, in many ways, each experiment is like your hit, and really, I think, especially coming in from undergrad where you might be taking lab classes and, there is a correct way for that experiment to go. One might expect, well, if you're really good at science, then your hits should just be, a 1, you should get all of them. But now I know it's really more like even 0.1 is good to get a success. And many experiments, but also just leads and hypotheses that we have don't go anywhere. And to me, that's, on one hand, the beauty of science, because it shows that we don't really understand what's going on because we're wrong so much of the time. But also it's also a sad reality, I think, that because we can't guess what's going to work. It is sort of a force that can push people out of science. Because if you're, say, a grad student and there's only really 3 years to get something going, you only have so many shots. And especially as a student, if you're not aware that you only have so many shots and you waste too much time on one shot, then, you might have a PhD or a thesis that is not what you envisioned simply by bad luck.
So that pivot is crucial. There's another thing I was reading about your research where you kind of took the road less traveled when it comes to things that people weren't paying attention to. You're like, I'm going to go over there. And I want to say this word right, because I want to say transposons, but that's...
transposon.
Transposon. Oh, yeah. I got to say it more like it's in the future. Transposon. Okay, see, I was not saying it like... So tell me how also that came up for you to be like, I'm going to look over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've always been into, I guess, like weird stuff, or like the sort of road less traveled in a way, but just things that are understudied but are interesting, in their own way. So transposons also, of course, fit that bill. And just to give some perspective on how I think about it, so I'm in a field called, that's known as genomics. And so that's basically studying our DNA sequence and how that relates to disease and evolution, things like that. And so in this genome age that we're in, we're often, especially with these people doing all this AI stuff, we're often thinking about, okay, the genome is this blueprint to our biology. And if only we could decode it, we could, unlock all these mysteries of science,
of the
right?
Universe, yeah.
And so I think a lot of people view the genome as the blueprint or the source code of our biology, which is true in a sense. But that analogy doesn't go all the way, because it's, where it falls apart is the idea that it was sort of intelligently written or designed in any way. And if you actually go and look at the code, it's actually super messy. It's amazing it works at all. And critically, if you actually really look at it, it's over half of the code is made up of these transposons.
That's what I found so interesting, that over half of the code of our...
And so to go with like the computer analogy again, these transposons are not really thought to be functional pieces of code. They're actually just, we can think of them as viruses or computer bugs that have the ability to copy and paste themselves throughout the code. And so that's actually not immediately a positive thing. And in fact, we can we can think of these as protoviruses, or they're actually sort of conceptually linked with viruses, and some and it's thought that some viruses probably originated from transposons, and the other way around. Some transposons come from viruses that sort of crash landed into our genome and lost the ability to infect, to leave the cell and infect other cells.
Yeah, they kind of then just spin out in there.
Stuck in the cell,
yeah.
And then that's a transposon. But this idea that the genome isn't just sort of a sterile code, but can be thought of as an ecosystem in and of itself, and that transposons are almost like the most minimal form of parasite that can exist. And to go even further, just the idea that they probably existed from the beginning of life itself, because once you have...
There was always a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah, once you have a matrix, or in this case, a genome, to me, it was just fascinating that, the story of life on Earth has this other dimension, almost like this shadow counterpart of this parasite that is a parasite and has been with us since the beginning.
And has helped us in ways as well.
But despite being parasitic, has also had just this huge influence on our evolution. That influence, though, is what's been understudied.
Yes.
And so that's been the focus of my work for many years now.
Okay, I want to learn more because you're making me smarter so much faster. But it's time for us to play the quick and dirty. We are already at the game show time, which if you've listened to Tintin's episode, she was really good at this game. Do you know what the quick and dirty is? Okay, I'm going to tell you. You can't lose except for to Tintin. The quick and dirty, I'm going to ask you questions, and you have to put and between them, or you have to have and in it. Like if we were to say two great names of transposons, you would say...
Oh, Tigger and Space Invader.
Winner. That's right. That's exactly the game. Are you ready?
Okay, sure.
This is the thing. Like some people skip the whole episode and they just listen to the quick and dirty. I know you didn't know you're going on a game show. You thought you were going on a podcast. Are you nervous? Because you're kind of no, you shouldn't. This is going to be great. Yeah. Okay, so when I was reading your material, I just kept thinking about science fiction and especially like vintage horror movies. So I want to know a vintage horror movie title that also could be a presentation name, and it has to have and in it.
House of Horrors and Stranger Things.
Oh, okay, but I want
That's not vintage though, but it tries to be vintage.
No, but put some of your science in there. So you're like the placenta that ate New York and transposons come for your mother. I know. It's not like, imagine you have a title of a paper you wrote about some kind of science. Pretend that that's also a horror movie title.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now we're there.
Yeah.
I'm totally breaking your brain.
How viruses gave birth to me.
Yes, how viruses gave birth to me. That is terrifying. Okay, excellent answer. Okay, 2 places that were like the best that you visited on the same trip. Like, did you jump from like Amsterdam to Australia?
Oh, I could say Australia to New Zealand. Okay. Australia and New Zealand.
See, and New Zealand has and in it.
Oh,
so you are
double. Yeah,
boom. Okay, now you're in the game. Okay, a biology-related email subject line that gives you the heebie-jeebies. Or a grant. I mean, there's a lot now.
Time to chat, ? And decision made on award.
Totally. Okay, we are so in this. A name of a class that you would consider taking or creating that has and in it that you think would be a hot seller for, evolutionary biology.
Genomics in modern society.
Yeah, boom.
Yeah.
Just that. You take it and teach it, probably both. Okay, you're going to hate this one. Okay, a candy name that would be both compelling and an inside joke for evolutionary biologists. I was like, how do you say, what was mine? I had a good one, producer Tim. I had funny ones written down. I can't remember them now. But like if you were in astrophysics, you'd be like the Milky Way and a Mars bar.
Oh, man. Oh, whatchamacallit. And a Twix bar?
Yeah. Okay. Twix that sounds matrixy.
I'm just thinking in terms of a twisted double-stranded DNA.
Yeah.
But,
with a, crunchy cookie.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to avoid the candy aisle for so long. It would help if I had a cheat sheet on what to choose from. But I think I'm just blanking on candy bar.
No, you do. Actually, you did great, because a whatchamacallit is kind of sounds perfect for some of the things you study.
I think the whatchamacallit is exactly, that would be a good one. But yeah.
I used to love the whatchamacallit commercials back in the 80s and 90s. Those were some of my favorite. Okay, a cozy combination of things that you wear in your lab that make you feel like you could be in the lab for hours. So like fashion ed.
Oh, chacos and a vest.
Boom, had that answer.
Or socks and chacos. You gotta cover the feet.
Got to cover the feet. Okay, so another thing that we do at the end of this show is that we have a send-off that you're the guest speaker for a graduating class, or people are going on to their PhD program, and you're going to say, and may you find new viruses that don't harm you, or something. I don't know. You say it in your words. Or some people just say, like, and try not to suck, or and fail faster. Like, what would your message be to our listeners?
Maybe particularly for students and graduate students, to keep on pursuing the questions that are interesting to you, and to not be discouraged by current or future events, and to stay true to advancing knowledge, because I truly think that is one of the purest forms of, I think, human expression and in what we do.
And that was Ed Chuong, assistant professor at the BioFrontiers Institute at CU Boulder. For more about Ed and his research, please see our show notes.
The Ampersand is a production of the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Colorado Boulder. It is written and produced by me, Erika Randall, and Tim Grassley. If there are people you'd like us to interview on The Ampersand, do please email us at asinfo@colorado.edu. Our theme music was composed and performed by Nelson Walker, and the episodes are recorded at Interplay Recording in Boulder, Colorado. I'm Erika Randall, and this is The Ampersand.